We'll start now. Good afternoon. Gabe Quinto from the El Cerrito Democratic Club, as well as the West County Democratic Club, elected member of the DPCCC, and flying out to Chicago to represent District 8 at the Democratic Convention. I'm honored here to interview two great candidates that I've known for some time now, and I'd like to introduce our two candidates for East Bay Regional Utility District. And we have Joey Smith, who is our Vice President of the Contra Costa Democratic Club and a longtime member of the Stonewall Dems and longtime activist with us. Welcome, Joey. And I also have Councilmember Anthony Tave, longtime member of the West County Dems Club as well. So we have 3 minutes for your opening statement, and we will start with Joey Smith. Go ahead, Joey.
Hey, thank you, Gabe, and thank you everyone for your time this afternoon. You know, I'm running to be your EV-MUD director to keep water rates reasonable, to protect our high quality water supply, improve our infrastructure, protect East Bay MUD's valuable watersheds, improving our water system's ability to fight wildfires, withstand major earthquakes, and keep East Bay MUD responsive to our customers. I'm the only candidate that has the direct experience running operations and programs at East Bay MUD. I'm committed to a sustainable and environmentally responsible water future. Having dedicated over 30 years as an East Bay MUD employee, I've focused on providing our West County communities with the best possible water service. I've worked as a supervisor and a water conservation technician currently in water and energy conservation programs, and assisted customers with their water issues and needs. Additionally, I've been in leadership positions for our unions throughout my careers here at East Bay MUD. I've also developed deep community roots in West County. I currently chair the Richmond Recreation and Parks Commission. I have served on the Commission for Women and Girls for approximately 15 years. I want to be your representative in providing reliable, high quality water services at reasonable rates while being a good steward for the resources entrusted to us as East Bay MUD. Having been there for this long, I am East Bay MUD. We all are about 60% to 70% water. That is where we have so much in common and why water is so important, to make sure that we've got the people who truly care about it in charge of it. Thank you for your time.
Gabe, you're muted.
Do that again. Next, thank you, Joey. Next, we'll go to Councilmember from Pinole, Anthony Tave. You have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay. Great. Good afternoon, Dems. How are you? I know it's been a long day, a long couple of days. I just want to say thank you for your time here. My name's Anthony Tave. I'm a Pinole Council member, and I've served in my second term, midway. I'm running to protect clean water. My goal is financial stewardship, similar to what has happened in Pinole. I want to give you a little bit of background about my experience and where I come from, where I cut my teeth to get to this point. I have 2 bodies of work I'd like to discuss. I'd like to discuss my professional work and my council work. my professional work includes, I'm a licensed civil engineer since 2011. Where I cut my teeth was in land development in 06 to 2008 until land development went away, and started my career at San Francisco Water Department. I spent from 2009 to 2014 as a assistant engineer there with Local 21. I worked 13,500 assets developing maintenance programs for them. I know water very well. And as a licensed civil engineer by the state of California, I can practice in that realm. From there, I became a maintenance planner for the police department, where we started to move my work indoors, where we're taking care of a lot of the different assets that are along with the police department. And then I got a job as a buildings and grounds director. When I was a maintenance planner, though, I want to make sure that I mentioned I was a local 39 member. And from 2014 to 2021, where I moved to the director and management role in San Francisco City College. And after that, I am now currently executive director at St. Mary's College for planning, design, and construction. My second body of work, in 2018, I received the Democratic Party endorsement and won my election for City of Pinole. In that time, we've had fires, we've had insurrection. By the way, we passed a resolution, condemning that in Pinole. We've had droughts, we've had housing crisis, recall effort that we beat. We've done a lot in Pinole that we've had budget surpluses, budget deficits. And during that time, in my 6 years here, we've managed to govern with democratic values front and center. We had a former person who's trying to run now who wanted to stop people from entering our country. We passed resolutions to make sure democratic values were front and center, and I intend to do that at East Bay Mud as well. Thank you.
Thank you. First question will go to Anthony Tabe. The proposed Bay Delta Plan update requires changes in amounts and or timing of diversions from the McCollum River. And that is one of the main areas where we obtain water. How should East Bay Mud respond to these proposals? What should the board's role be in the process?
It's my understanding. I mean, it's no secret. Water has been a problem in California. There was points in the recent history we've been diverting water down into Southern California. Water management in the past has been very territorial amongst different organizations. I think the important part for East Bay Mud and its position is to really understand how much water we actually have, how much water are we able to shift, and how much water we need. So really what we're saying is timing, right? The board needs to be very focused on how much water is coming into its system and how much water is going out in those scenarios. I want to bring up another component to this, is that there's also an environmental impact to when that water is diverted. I know that that is a state effort that's causing this, is that, hey, we have to share water. But we also have to collect that water and use it wisely and manage that water appropriately. I think the board has to set ground rules and daylight a lot of the different decisions that are being made by the management staff and the general manager, to make sure that we understand how much water is coming in, what is the impact of that, when is that water being diverted, and how we're storing it. So I think that as a civil engineer, I bring that talent to the board to be able to ask those tough questions and really just ask people, let's do the math. How much water is being diverted? How much water is coming in? What is the environmental impact? How are we going to communicate to our customers and really display our system in its entirety, from source and then also through the wastewater as it's being released. So that's my take.
Thank you, Anthony. Joey, would you like for me to repeat the question for you?
I think I've got this one. Thank you, Gabe.
Okay, sure.
This has been an issue that East Bay Mud has been dealing with for decades. It is absolutely imperative that we be mindful of just how much water is needed within our own systems. But additionally, the work happening with the McCollum can have such a direct negative impact on programs that East Bay Mud has put into place to help the environment and to help others. I'm talking about our restoration of our salmon and our steelhead trout. We have fish hatchery that has done much work, and we have started replenishing that area fiercely. Now, are we saying that fish are more important than people? Absolutely not. But there are other options that can be looked into. And this is not one that we are thinking should be a prime selection to do. It's very important that you know the fish that we do in the hatchery, when we collect the eggs and everything, that fish goes to the hungry. It feeds people. So it's a complete cycle. That's where we stand. We work with others to the best of our ability, but we also protect our stakes. Thank you.
Thank you, Joey. We'll go to the next question, and that will first go to Joey Smith. Joey, overall, what do you think East Bay Mud is doing well, and where are improvements needed?
Okay. There are many things that East Bay Mud is doing quite well. For instance, our fish program. Also, we have made many strides in using renewable energy. And also, we have a reputation for not ever laying anybody off. We work with our budgets to ensure that we are able to retain our staff to the best of our ability. And we have a really good credit rating. So these are things that we're doing well. Other things we're doing well are working with other organizations, other water and wastewater organizations. We do our best, if not to set the standard, but to at least uphold the leadership as being the second largest water industry in this state. Things that we can improve on, I'd like to see more women in the trades working there. I would like to see just a little bit more consistency with the diversity. We can also do a little better with a few of our programs because we need to make sure that they remain funded well without dipping into our consumer funds, such as our customer assistance program, where many of our employees contribute to annually. Thank you for the question.
Thanks, Joey. Anthony, would you like for me to repeat the question for you?
Yes, please.
Okay. Overall, what do you think East Bay Mud is doing well, and where are improvements needed?
Okay, I think that East Bay Mud, in general, system-wise, I think they have staff that are very qualified. I think that staff has been really the life's blood of East Bay Mud, and you can tell by the programs that East Bay Mud has been having with their staff or offered to their staff. I think the salaries are in place. They just recently went through a large salary study and had some increases for staff. I think that that's a good thing because staff retention is going to be huge in the coming years. Having qualified staff, trained staff is going to be huge. As people start retiring, that backfill is going to be needed. And I think that's one of the most critical things that every large agency really needs to start thinking about, only because there's going to be a lot of competition for those trained staff. I think that East Bay Mud delivery response and reactions to water breaks, we've most recently seen a few here in Pinole, has been great. They do get the team out. The team is very well qualified, and they move expeditiously to get the water back up and running. I think the fiscal stewardship, financial stewardship has been something to applaud. And that's something that I'll continue, if elected to East Bay Mud Ward 1. I think that where they need help is the recycled water programs. The cornerstone of recycled water in California, or one of the top agencies, was East Bay Mud back in 1970. I think that many agencies have found it balancing operations and moving technology forward has been difficult. I think recycled water is a first step before desalinization, in my opinion, only because desalinization opens up more problems. I think recycled water is readily available to start going, and I'd like to see more investment there. So I would say if there's a con, I don't understand how they've zigzagged back and forth.
Thank you, Anthony. So my next question, let's go back to you, Anthony, on this, because you did mention the things that need improvement and recycled water. For years, for the last 12 years, I've asked the East Bay Mud Board to extend the purple pipe from Alameda County that ends right on the Alameda County Contra Costa border, right there next to Albany and Richmond. Do you support the extension of the purple pipe so municipalities in West County can use that water to water landscaping?
Absolutely. I think recycled water is something that, again, has been not capitalized or utilized as much as it probably should have been. New buildings being built, new developments going in need to have that recycled water. It dramatically reduces the amount of water usage. That extension, in Pinole, we've been talking about recycled water for fill trucks for a lot of the construction sites. There's irrigation and allow our residents to be able to go down to the plant. So that's something we've been exploring and are doing a study in Pinole just with our wastewater plant, which I chair that board. There's a lot of, and it's the Pinole Hercules recycle plant. I think that extension needs to happen. Recycled water is, as I said, the next step. And being able to supply that recycled water is another issue. The technologies are there to start that conversation. The funding needs to be there in order to do it. Purple pipe is, when you look at it, there's 4,200 miles of pipe in East Bay Mud. And we're adding another set of recycled water along with that. So it has to be very strategic. And I think that line moving over will allow for the parks to be watered and keep our green spaces green. After this drought, it's pretty apparent that we didn't have the infrastructure to help support. We were using the water when we were in a drought. East Bay Mud raised the rate to help supply that. I wonder where those dollars usually go, because it isn't going back into the system to really start building out recycled water plants and really starting to develop the infrastructure that we currently have. So I think what you're going to see is a lot of wastewater plants start to really take recycled water seriously. And as an East Bay Mud Ward 1 director, I want to make those partnerships and help with it.
Thank you. Joey, would you like for me to repeat the question?
Thank you, Gabe. I think I have this one.
Thank you.
East Bay Mud has recycled water program that functions pretty well. What we learned in the process is it tends to serve the new construction a whole lot more easily the infrastructure needs to be in place for us to connect with whoever it is that wants to use it. Now, I'm not 100% sure how they go about deciding where to install the purple pipe. I haven't been in on those closed meetings yet, but I must say that it's a lot easier to use it for irrigation. And again, as I said, with new construction, because they can dedicate lines, there's a big concern about making sure that the two systems don't cross, because the recycled water that we make right now is nowhere near close to potable. That is a whole nother step that we're doing. It's good recycled water, great for irrigation. It's great for cooling down facilities. Chevron uses it. A lot of the businesses use our recycled water, but this is something that takes a lot of planning. I'm not opposed to it being extended. It just will definitely cost some money and some discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, we'll go back to you, Joey. Do you believe East Bay Mud can be made to serve as a good example of urban water use management for California, and how?
I do. I really do, because we have example gardens throughout our distribution system. There's a wonderful garden that is by the Richmond City Hall, where we've got swales where it shows how, we've done demonstrations for gray water gardening. Yes, I believe that we can. We could probably just go around through our distribution system and take snapshots and actually create a bit of a pamphlet so that people can have some idea. But there's lots of ideas on our website. We have Water Wednesday events where people get educated on how to best use this wonderful resource that we all need. And it's educational for students as well. So it's not just people who are looking to save money or to save water. It teaches our youth or anyone else who is interested in how to best use this resource and how they can contribute to the sustainability of our Earth. Thank you.
Thank you. Anthony, would you like for me to repeat the question?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Do you believe East Bay Mud can be made to serve as a good example of urban water use management for California, and how?
Absolutely. And as my colleague said, there's definitely examples that are being done throughout California, really, and throughout East Bay Mud. I think one of the things that, most recent history is we've had a lot, climate change is real. Many cities are adopting climate action plans, including the county that just did their climate action plan. I think that East Bay Mud can use that opportunity to be that beacon to really start setting more standards for urban water management. How we transmit water, how we put them through channels, how we put them through, as my colleague mentioned, bioswales, bioretention basins, to really start looking at how water is discharged out. I think that the California Regional Water Quality Control Board also has a set of standards that it kind of roll out. So it's really, East Bay Mud can take this time to really start pulling in all the best practices and really rolling that out through our local agencies, through partnerships, and reaching out to the different districts and making sure that the standards are starting to come together. That way there's not different messages or different styles that are out there. and allow people to pick how they manage water on their property for their homes, for their businesses, and for our larger industry partners. It's making sure that they're following those standards as well. I think that's part of those partnerships, and as a district Ward 1 East Bay Mud rep, I feel like I can do that. I can make those partnerships, make those connections, and start pulling in a lot of those standards into one document that we can all pull from.
Thank you. We'll go to the next question, and I will have Joey Smith answer this question. What changes, if any, would you make to East Bay Mud water rate structures to promote equity and water use efficiency?
This has been a tough one for just about everyone who has been on the board. I remember when I first started back in the 90s, we as union people would approach the board and actually did demonstrations, because at that time they were not raising the rates with any type of reasonable consistency, and our infrastructure was suffering because we were not able to take care of that. Some of the rates that have happened during the past 20 years has been because folks finally understood that it is necessary to raise rates with good answers, good reasons, improving infrastructure, extending and working on recycled waters and other programs that we have in there. They had resisted for so long that it built up too much. Now, we do have tier systems. Part of it's because folks on the east side, the water has to be pumped to them. For those in the flats, the water is gravity fed. But we still have to continue to stay current with the regulations for making sure that we're in compliance with our water qualities and our wastewater qualities. So we do take those things into consideration and try to not exceed the COLA whenever possible. But there's other things involved with that as well. Thank you. Thanks,
Joey. Anthony, would you like for me to repeat the question?
I think I got this one.
Okay.
I want to take people back to AB 685 back in 2012. That assembly bill set the standard that, you know, water is a human right. And in California, water needs to be clean, safe to drink, accessible, and affordable. And that set the standard for the water code, so that we now by law have to be able to provide water to people within reason, and also keep the standard for safety. I believe in the tiered schedule. I think that it's important to have that in place, because obviously otherwise, you know, how much does water cost, right? We set prices, we do all that from a governance model, but really everyone needs water, and everyone needs it to live, right? And it needs it to stay in a good state. I think that a lot of times when we put those prices, it's making sure that we're looking through the equity lens, we're looking through the social justice lens, and several areas in Ward 1 have not received the resources that it needs. You know, at 25 miles per year of pipe replacement, that's 168 years, right? And the life cycle on the pipe is about 50 to 60 years. We have to start looking at how are we making this system better? How are we making this system affordable, and really balancing that out? And when we're not doing a good job and we're not getting that there, we need to make sure that we're transparent about it with our customers. And if rates are required to be lifted, that we're very transparent on where that lift is going to be and the why behind it.
Thank you, Anthony. My next question will go to Joey. Joey, as you know, you've driven and been through the streets of El Cerrito, and our city is torn apart right now because of utilities such as East Bay Mud replacing pipe that should have been done many, many years ago. So I'm grateful to East Bay Mud for doing this, but it's taken a long time to do, and I know it's very, very expensive. So I wanted to find out regarding what's been happening and what needs to be done in the older suburbs, such as Richmond. A lot of those pipes are so old now. We look at the city of Oakland, where schools' water fountains have been turned off because of lead poisoning. And what do you see in the future in making sure that East Bay Mud goes on a faster pace in replacing these old pipes that need to be replaced?
Okay, so one, we have a program called Rebuild, and we are actually ahead of our schedule for getting the pipes in the ground replaced. That's something that's actually been moving along quite well. There have been staff that are dedicated to work specifically on that project. So we are absolutely making big strides with that. Now, regarding lead, when I started back then, we were removing, lead tails and all that. We believe that we've got at least 95% of that removed from the system. So if there's any lead that's going on, it's possibly with the house line plumbing for whatever structure that's going on. We have lead testing kits available that anyone can request and test their water and send it to the lab. We are on top of that. We're very, very serious about any lead in the water. If anybody runs into that, heck, if you didn't figure out where to call for East Bay Mud, call me. I will make sure that you get those lead tests, because we're not playing around with that. I hope I answered your question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anthony, would you like for me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So here in El Cerrito, we are finally getting from East Bay Mud. They're tearing up our streets from south to north and east to west to replace old piping. And I wanted to find out from you what your opinion is on how we can get this done faster to our older suburbs like El Cerrito, San Pablo, Richmond. We're seeing how expensive it is. It's super expensive to replace old piping. So what is your vision in making sure that we get this done? Right now in Oakland, we have seen schools with public water. Their water is turned off because of lead poisoning.
Right. So first off, I'd like to say that's going to be one of my priorities. There's also pipe in the ground that's asbestos, right, and had asbestos in them. So there's a lot of priorities that go into which pipes are picked. One is delivery, one is location, and then what materials are we using? I know that in El Cerrito and several of those schools, there's a high seismic region, right, and most of Ward 1 is within that area of seismic activity, which you usually will get settlement, which leads to pipe breaks and the like. One of the things is are we putting in the appropriate pipe? Is there seismic? There's pipe that will move along with any shifting that's going on there. I'm 100% committed to making sure that we start looking at a rubric and matrix that identifies pipe specifically putting health and safety a priority one. Operations, we can start to see which pipes are needed to make sure that we keep pressure throughout the system, but really safety is priority one. The school district, I'm looking at partnering with them as well to make sure that every school is getting clean water, both internal and external, and making sure that there is a marrying of the two data points. We test our water for water quality within the water systems. However, it goes to the public health department, and then the school sends their data to the public health department. And then someone has to marry the two, which is usually those questions are asked by the board and the directors to make sure that that data is being lined up, right? And I think that what we have to do, and I mentioned partnerships before, is really how does East Bay Mud play a role in that? How do we help, right? And how do we make sure that we make sense of that data with them rather than saying, hey, it's a school problem or a homeowner problem? We need to make sure we're reaching out and communicating directly to homeowners for that reason.
Thank you very much. We're running out of time, so I want to give each of you equal time for your final statement. So let's go to you, Anthony. You have 3 minutes for your closing statement.
I want to thank everybody for your time in this effort. As I said, as a council member, I've been able to take a lot of my expertise as a professional civil engineer and translate that over directly to the infrastructure needs in Pinole. When I got to Pinole in 2018, it was sleepy bedroom town. I think after we have the housing that's come in, the wastewater plant has just got a $41 million upgrade. We just completed our sewer master plan. I'm prepared to go to Ward 1 and do the homework, do the reports, make sure that we have data to present back to our constituents at a consistent and timely manner, and meet with the board member, our council members, to make sure that they understand this data and how to translate it. I have that expertise. So when we get answers from the general manager and staff, I'm able to ask those questions and dive into the details and tell them, no, we're going to do the math, right? I want to go through point by point because I owe that to the constituents. I have done that in Pinole. We've gotten to a good place where our budget and resources are being allocated to our parks, roads. I know infrastructure very well. My background in civil engineering and experience with San Francisco Water Department makes me a good candidate for this seat. I know that one of the other things I want to mention is communication along with my expertise in Ward 1 and making sure that our councils are equipped with the information to make sure that they're also a point and trusted source for their constituents to provide information from East Bay Mud. So that's my stance and background as far as East Bay Mud Ward 1 position is and why I'm running. I believe that communication to reinvigorate our constituency and get them closer to water. We have a lot of big things happening. We have the infrastructure bill that just came out. That money is going to start flowing down. I want to make sure I'm connecting with constituents, letting them know East Bay Mud has really good jobs, really good careers, and make sure those training programs are in place so that we are developing the next generation of East Bay Mud staffing. And upward mobility is another component for East Bay Mud that I want to make sure that they have those training programs so that if somebody says, I come in as a custodial worker, I want to be the general manager one day, that they have that path to get to that point. That's one thing that I think that most agencies, we started an internship in Pinole. We need to start training everybody to start becoming those new professionals. And as we retire out, they come in and are able to carry the system forward for the next 100 years. So I just want to thank everybody for their time. I'm asking respectfully for your vote and support in my candidacy. And thank you again.
Thank you, Anthony. And last but not least, Joey Smith, your final statement, and we'll give you 3 minutes for that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gabe. In 1992, I got laid off from a job that I had and was really, really struggling to figure out how I was going to take care of my family. I had heard about East Bay Mud, but I had taken test after test and just couldn't seem to get in there. When I got laid off, I had to make a decision. Do I go back to school or what do? I found out about the Special Employee Program at East Bay Mud. Now, this was designed for people who are hard to hire, people who are either on government assistance or, came out from being incarcerated. I didn't fit any of those, but I did fit the fact that I'd been laid off for 6 months. That was my first job there. They didn't have mentors for you. They didn't have special classes for you. You just had to figure out how you were going to make it for that 1 year. At that, labor didn't like you because they thought that we were taking a job that somebody else could do. Well, I made it through that program. I got hired on in a regular position in '94. And starting way at the bottom to get to journey level, to become supervisor, to become a president of one of the unions, who has access to the board members, who reviews the policies and procedures. I've had the opportunity to have the exposure, and I've made the connections of the people who I need to talk with to get whatever information I need to have once I'm on the board. That being said, please understand that I don't take the endorsement from this Democratic Party lightly. I've been devoted to it since 2012, and I know how important it is for people to trust who it is that they vote for. I have the endorsement of the incumbent as well as her predecessor, along with a whole lot of other folks on the board. And I was just very pleased to find out that I have the endorsement of the Sierra Club as well. This being said, I believe that I am the best candidate for this position because I'm staying in contact with everyone who I'm already with, and I'm reaching out to anyone else who is willing to come on this journey with me so that we can make this thing happen. Appreciate your endorsement and your vote if you're in my region, Ward 1.
You're muted, Gabe.
Sorry about that. Two great candidates, and I just want to say thank you to Joey Smith and to Anthony Tabe.